These people have gathered in solidarity under a Raise Black Power fist. For them, it's symbolic of the struggle against racism and discrimination they say black people face daily in the United States. The vigil is being held for Daunte Wright, a 20-year-old African-American shot and killed by a police officer during a routine traffic stop on Sunday. His brother rejects suggestions by the police that the officer involved appeared to intend to fire a taser, not her gun.
I can never understand that fear of being pulled over by the cops. Why? Because I am a white man. I would never understand it. My brother lost his life because they were trigger happy. Like, again, you know your left from your right. You know the difference between plastic and metal.
Wright spent his last moments with his girlfriend, sitting next to him in the car. His mother was talking to him on the phone about what to say to the police when he was shot in the chest. The officer involved has served in the force for 26 years. Brooklyn Center Police Chief says the incident was a tragic error.
It is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me, from what I've viewed and the officer's reaction and distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge that resulted in the tragic death of Mr. Wright.
For a second night, there were more confrontations between protesters and police.
You just killed Daunte Wright. If I make a mistake, are y'all gonna kill me too? If I make a mistake, are y'all gonna kill me too?
Angered by repeated instances of police brutality and racial profiling in the US, hundreds of protesters defied a curfew that started on Monday and have continued to protest despite police using tear gas against them. The unrest comes as the trial of former policeman Derek Chauvin is being held a few kilometers away. He's facing charges of murder over the killing of George Floyd last year. Some protests turned violent overnight, with several businesses looted and damaged. President Joe Biden has called for peace and calm.
The question is, was it an accident? Was it intentional? That remains to be determined by a full-blown investigation. But in the meantime, I want to make it clear again, there is absolutely no justification, none, for looting.
The first black mayor of Brooklyn Center has expressed his shock.
We are in pain right now. And we recognize that this couldn't have happened at a worse time. We recognize that this is happening at a time when our community, when all of America, indeed all of the world, is watching.
Many are expecting more unrest in the Minneapolis suburb, and a state of emergency has been declared. Sara, Khairat, Jazeera.
Well, let's speak to John HENDREN now, who's in Minneapolis for us. John, looking at those pictures, another night of tear gas and rubber bullets. Talk us through the mood that you're seeing on the streets there.
That's right. Last night, despite a curfew that went into effect at a 7 p.m. local time, midnight GMT, here in Minneapolis, in neighboring St. Paul, and in the suburban area that includes Brooklyn Center, people remained out. There were clashes with police who had to push them back with tear gas and stun grenades. Those crowds, according to police, were throwing bottles and fireworks at the officers, and you saw some of those tense confrontations overnight. There was less of that here in the downtown area, but there is obviously renewed anger in the streets at the killing of another black man at the hands of police, and it's particularly upsetting for many people here that this time it happened as the result apparently of a mistake with an officer who fired a taser, intended to fire a taser, and instead fired her service weapon, killing Daunte Wright with a single bullet. There is talk of discipline of that officer and of the police chief of Brooklyn Center, but meanwhile, the cities surrounding this area are really just trying to get it back into control. This is an area where protesters, of course, have been active since May 25th, the death of George Floyd, and the trial of the officer who held his knee on George Floyd's neck for 9.5 minutes is going on in the courthouse behind me. That will start again today. But that had already people on edge here. With that trial going on, protesters were already gathering in the area, and this just gave them one more thing to vent their anger about. Couldn't have possibly happened at a worse time.
And John, as you say, today is what, day 12 of the Chauvin trial today? And I see the prosecution is potentially set to wrap later on today or this week.
That's right. We expect the prosecution to say the prosecution rests. Then begin the defense witnesses. And interestingly, after about 2 weeks and 1 day of prosecution witnesses, the judge says he only expects 3, possibly 4 days of defense witnesses. He warned the jury on Monday that if the defense concluded on Thursday, he was going to give them Friday off, but that after that, on Monday, as soon as closing arguments rather, started, he was going to sequester or isolate them so that they would not be subject to the vast public opinion on all of the media that you see here locally. So that is going to happen starting Monday. That also encourages them to come to the end of their deliberations soon. But now we're waiting for the defense, and we expect them to come up with medical witnesses and police witnesses to refute the prosecution case that Derek Chauvin unjustifiably killed George Floyd.
John Hendren there in Minneapolis for us with all the latest. Thank you so much, John.